In Lenox, Alabama, February 16, 2022. We believe the Bible is true and evolution is stupid, dumb, the dumbest religion in the world to believe you came from a rock. So we're going to do Whack an Atheist tonight, Simon Dan Part 3. Try to finish this one up. Okay, let's see here. I like this. Oh, Darwin. Love it, love it, love it. Welcome to Whack an Atheist with Dr. Kent, the science gent. I wear red typically to, well, you know, antagonize them a little bit. Dinosaurs lived with man. They were called dragons or some other name. And the evolution's a religious cult. It's a mental illness, okay? Come visit our dinosaur adventureland north of downtown Lenox. We're in Genesis Baptist Church right here. We need to get billboards all over if you want to help us with that. Well, I got to change that. 214 baptized now. Let's see, debates this Friday is one with Wade Robbins, the former Mormon priest. Next Friday is one with Mark Drysdale. And then next month, several debates coming up. If you believe in evolution, call Donnie at Standing for Truth and we'll schedule them. There's Wade the Wizard. We'll be debating this February 8th, 2 more days, okay? And then Mark Drysdale the next Friday after that. And then Call Me Emo, going to be March 1st. And then March 8th will be Tom Jump. And March 11th, James somebody. I don't know. Okay, get our video series, 18 hours on science in the Bible, $50 for the whole thing. Call 855-BIG-DINO or email secretary@drdino.com. If you can't get the phone to work, it don't work out here too good. Get our book on what on earth is about to happen, the future. The Bible tells us what's coming. I think it has started. Or a video series on that topic. Okay, I want to get to Simon Dan, where he, right here. Did I get it? Yeah. Okay. I've already answered as part 1 and part 2. He gave 3 parts, 3 reasons, challenge to young Earth creationists, particularly me, of how the Earth can only be 6,000 years old based on carbon dating, potassium argon dating, and magnetic reversals. So we covered the first 2. We'll get number 3 tonight for you, Dan. Go ahead.
The final part of this challenge today for Kent is regarding magnetic field lines in rocks. As it's well understood, Earth is like a giant magnet. The magnetic field being produced by the outer core is literally everywhere. Of course, this is plainly there for all to see when you use a compass, but what has that got to do with the age of the Earth? Now, throughout geological time, the polarity of Earth's magnetic field has switched several times.
This is what their whole argument is based on, and it's not true. I'll show you in a minute.
North has become south, and south has become north. Now, this is most impressively depicted in the new crust that forms in the mid-Atlantic ridge. Using the radiometric dating methods used that I've already mentioned, geologists are able to correctly date when these magnetic field reversals occurred. And this is what they've discovered. Why, Kent, if the Earth is only 6,000 years old, are we getting this almost perfect gradient of time between the different reversals? Even if we take the youngest sample near the center, the newest rock, we get a date of 0.8 million years, vastly longer than your 6,000. So Kent, what is causing these results? Why are the ages of these rocks increasing as we move further away from the ridge? And how does this evidence work when it comes to your 6,000-year-old Earth? Now, 3 challenges there.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Now, if I answer these, rather than convert and become a Bible-believing Christian, you'll look for 3 more. I understand how it works. But let me get to the hydroplate theory. Oh, I got to drag that one over too, don't I? Just a couple minutes long. F and spacebar. Boundary. The other thing is about the mid-Atlantic ridge. What would cause that? This picture here. Oh, that's the end of it here. I need to be back to Walt Brown. Here we go. Right about
oil deposits, the rapid continental drift. Why on the ocean floor there are huge trenches and hundreds of canyons and volcanoes. It explains the formation of the layered strata and most of the fossils, the frozen mammoths, the so-called ice ages, and major land canyons, especially the Grand Canyon. The pre-flood Earth probably had only one very large supercontinent covered with lush vegetation. There were seas and major rivers. The mountains were smaller than today's, but perhaps 9,000 feet high. According to the hydroplate theory, the pre-flood Earth had a lot of subterranean water, about half of what is now in our oceans. This water was contained in interconnected chambers, forming a thin spherical shell about half a mile thick, perhaps 10 miles below the Earth's surface. Increasing pressure in the subterranean water stretched the crust just as a balloon stretches when the pressure inside increases. Failure in the crust began with a microscopic crack which grew in both directions at about 3 miles per second. The crack, following the path of least resistance, encircled the globe in about 2 hours. As the crack raced around the Earth, the overlying rock crust opened up like a rip in a tightly stretched cloth. The subterranean water was under extreme pressure because of the weight of the 10 miles of rock pressing down on it. So the water exploded violently out of the rupture. All along this globe-encircling rupture, fountains of water jetted supersonically, almost 20 miles into the atmosphere. The spray from this enormous fountain produced torrential rains, such as the Earth has never experienced before or after. The Bible states that all the fountains of the great deep burst open on one day. And it describes these events about 5,000 years ago, which we can now tie together scientifically. Some of the water jetting high above the cold stratosphere froze into supercooled ice crystals and produced some massive ice dumps, burying, suffocating, and instantly freezing many animals, including the frozen mammoths of Siberia and Alaska. The high-pressure fountains eroded the rock on both sides of the crack, producing huge volumes of sediments that settled out of this muddy water all over the Earth. These sediments trapped and buried plants and animals, forming the fossil record. This erosion widened the rupture. Eventually, the width was so great that the compressed rock beneath the subterranean chamber sprung upward, giving birth to the mid-oceanic ridge that wraps around the Earth like the seam of a baseball. The continental plates, the hydroplates, still with lubricating water beneath them, slid downhill away from the rising mid-Atlantic ridge. After the massive, slowly accelerating continental plates reached speeds of about 45 miles per hour, they ran into resistances, compressed, and buckled. The portions of the hydroplate that buckled down formed ocean trenches. Those that buckled upward formed mountains. This is why the major mountain chains are parallel to the oceanic ridges from which they slid. The hydroplates, in sliding away from the oceanic ridges, opened up very deep ocean basins into which the floodwaters retreated. On the continents, each bowl-shaped depression or basin was naturally left brimful of water, producing many post-flood lakes.
The demonstration you have just witnessed of a massive worldwide catastrophe in antiquity supports the biblical story of the deluge in every detail.
More on that on Walt Brown's website. Let's see. Whack an Atheist. Okay, I want to go to slide number 37. So, Dan, I'll explain it to you. I believe most of the water that is caused the flood of Noah was in the crust of the earth. And this gets to your question about the Earth's magnetic field. The earth was created with water under the crust. It says he founded it upon the seas, Psalm 24. He gathered the waters together as a heap. He layeth up the depth in storehouses. The depth is always a reference to the ocean. So it used to be stored inside the earth. He stretched out the earth above the waters, Psalm 136. So I believe he is correct. The earth was created with water under the crust of the earth and an ice canopy over the air, a couple inches thick. I've covered that many times before. Why does Earth have so much water compared to other planets? Not only does Earth have a lot of visible water, oceans cover 70%, but another 10 oceans worth of water may be entombed deep inside. There's still a lot of water in there. So it says in the 600th year of Noah's life, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up. And the seas, who shut up the sea with doors when it brake forth as if it had issued out of the womb. Have you ever seen a baby born and the water breaks before the baby comes out? It is a royal mess. It comes squirting out of there. So he break up for, let's see. So the earth today, I don't think anybody argues, is cracked up like an eggshell. There are pieces of the earth right now. Some are still moving, those cracks, and they cause earthquakes or volcanoes, the fault lines. Alabama has fault lines right around here. There's the San Andreas fault. Sometimes they slide up, called a reverse fault, slide down or slide sideways, a strike fault. So there's no question the Earth has these fault lines all over the place. What you're talking about, Dan, the mid-Atlantic ridge we'll focus on here. That is, like he mentioned, the seam on a baseball. It goes all the way around the Earth. Up in Iceland, you can actually scuba dive in the middle of it, where the crack is it's up at near ground level. So the mid-Atlantic ridge certainly is lifting up, bulging up, causing these fault lines, and probably did slide away. The Earth is broken into plates, still move a little bit, some are locked in, and they cause earthquakes and volcanoes. There is still water under the crust of the Earth, otherwise there could be no hot water vents on the bottom of the ocean. Let me go to slide number 71 here and get some more. Okay. The textbooks will say, and you say, Dan, there are magnetic reversals in the rock. This is not true. There's no such thing as a magnetic reversal. There are areas of stronger and weaker magnetism, but it's not reversed. One of the lies in the textbooks they teach the kids about magnetic reversals, and apparently you swallowed it, Dan, without checking it out. It is clear that the simple model of uniformly magnetized crustal blocks of alternating polarity does not represent reality. What they see is a jumbled up mess. There is a little bit of order to it, and here's why. As that mid-Atlantic ridge lifted up and the continent slid away with the lubricating water still escaping underneath, it would open up cracks in the basalt. The hot layer underneath would crack, and the water rushes in. Well, hot magnets lose their magnetism. If you heat up a magnet today, it'll lose its magnetism at about 175 degrees, I believe. It's no longer magnetic. So as the water rushed into this hot magma, it cooled it. So what they were finding with their magnometer as they dragged it across the bottom of the ocean was areas of stronger and weaker magnetism, not reversed. They drew a line through the middle and called everything below normal a reversal, which is dumb. There's the line down there. Everything was facing north. Some were weaker than others. So they found areas of stronger and weaker magnetism. The Earth's magnetic field is getting weaker. In the last 150 years, it's lost 10%, which is another indication it can't be billions of years old. Do magnets lose their strength when heated? Magnets are made of atoms, and in normal conditions, these atoms align between poles and foster magnetism. Temperature can either strengthen or weaken a magnetic's attractive force. Cooling or exposing the magnet to low temperature will enhance and strengthen the magnetic properties, while heating will weaken them. A magnet subject to heat experiences a reduction in its magnetic field. So, Dan, what they were measuring in those ridges, which are now probably filled with sediment, the cracks where the basalt cracked as it lifted up. So the water rushed in and cooled it. So you would find stronger, weaker magnetism, but not reversals. So as the crust slid apart, the magma would come up inside, cracking and let the water come in. Hot basalt loses its magnetism, the water rushed in, and it locked in a stronger magnetic signature. That's all that happened. These continents, as it lifted up, would slide away, and when water enters the cracks, it cooled and solidified the basalt, locking in a stronger magnetic field. They did not find reversals, Dan. You got lied to, and you swallowed it. So get my video number 6 for a lot more on that. Let's see if I have anything else. I agree the continental plates are moving, but that does not prove they've always been moving. It doesn't prove the rate's always been the same. And students ought to be shown other options. If plates are moving, so what? Does that prove it's been going for millions of years? If I see someone headed east on I-10 at 70 miles an hour, does that prove they started in Los Angeles 4 days ago? Or could they have just got on at the last exit? So we get in video 6 about the continental drift theory, which the purpose of it is to try to avoid 2 problems. The magnetic field's getting weaker, making the Earth less than 25,000 years old. So they say, oh, it's reversed. No, it has not reversed. You guys still have a problem. It hasn't reversed. There's very little sediment in the ocean, only a few thousand years worth. No one has produced a logical mechanism to show how the Earth's magnetic field can reverse. How can a magnet take a spinning bicycle tire and try to flip it over? You can't do it without great effort. The Earth is huge. You can't flip over the spin of the Earth or reverse the magnetic field. The Bible says there would be scoffers in the last days, walking after their own lust and saying, where's the promise of his coming? All things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. For this they willingly are ignorant. Dan, substitute your name for they. You are willingly ignorant that by the word of God the heavens were of old. God made the heavens and the earth, made everything in 6 days, dinosaurs too. And the earth standing out of the water and in the water, there it is, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. The scoffers are ignorant of how God made the heavens and how the world was destroyed by a flood. And today it's reserved unto fire and judgment against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. You're ignorant, Dan, of the creation, the flood, and the coming judgment of God. The Bible says when they knew God, they glorified him not as God. Dan, I am very worried for you. I pray for you frequently. I'm concerned, not only that you have rejected the Messiah that created the universe, you're leading other people to believe this dumb religion of evolution. A lot of people watch your channel, Dan. You better take that very serious. Make sure you're teaching the truth. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And I think that's what's happened, Dan. Okay, Dan, I've said many times, you can call me, 855-BIG-DINO, extension 3. I'll keep it off the record. If you don't want it public, I'll never make it public until you say so. But I'd like to talk to you about your eternity and your soul. I'm very concerned. I don't know why but God's put you on my heart. So, all right, any questions or comments?
Yes, I've got one.
You understand the difference between the crust and the lithosphere? Yes, I do. Okay? That's it. All right. So the basalt underneath would be lifting up. Get Walt Brown's book, In the Beginning, creationscience.com is his website. We don't sell that one, do we, Sandra?
Say that again.
Walt Brown's book? No, we need to. That's a great book. Okay, come visit Dinosaur Adventureland, Lenox, Alabama. I'm not feeling up to 100%. Everybody's getting this 24-hour flu going around. I had it 23 hours ago, so I'm about ready to go back to bed. See you tomorrow.